Hello and welcome to another tutorial by Classic Craft Studio. I'm Rebecca and today I'm going to be showing you how to create texture in your machine embroidery using threads and yarns that one would normally use for hand embroidery techniques. So I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Textural stitches. Okay, so for this you're going to need to get perle cotton. So this is your standard embroidery cotton. It generally comes in 6 or 8 strands. This is not what you want. Okay, that's not. You want this. It's called perle cotton. There's a number of different companies that make it. You need a number 5 or a number 8. I happen to have some number 5, so that's what I'm using for today's example. Now this, depending on your machine, my machine, I find it easier just to wind it on by hand. So it's actually not as time consuming as you think because it's such thick threads. The other thing that you're going to need, so I have only tried this your standard old-fashioned style machine, like such. I'm not sure if this is possible in drop-in bobbin. To be perfectly honest, I'm a bit of a coward when it comes to fiddling with that sort of thing with my machine because, yeah, I don't want to take any chances. So I'm just going to explain to you how to do this on the standard type of bobbin. Maybe when I've got a bit of courage I'll try it on my drop-in bobbin machine, but for now let's just stick to this machine. So you're going to need to get yourself an extra one of these bobbin casings. You don't want to mess with your original bobbin casing that you use for your ordinary standard sewing thread. I really do recommend that you get yourself a new bobbin casing for this. They're really not expensive. You can buy them online or from any sewing shop. They're nice and easy to get hold of. So the first thing you need to do is either, depending on how thick your thread is, because you can do this with metallic threads, all different types of threads in your bobbin. So depending on the thickness of your thread, you want to fiddle with your tension screw, which is why you don't want to use your normal standard sewing bobbin casing that's used for standard sewing. You want a special one because for this one you're going to be loosening this tension screw and getting it to the point where your cotton can flow freely through it. Okay, so you can see it doesn't even go under there at the moment. This is also useful if you want to do shirring with the shirring elastic. Then you also need to have yourself a separate bobbin casing for that. So you want to get it that your thread is flowing freely through here. Like I say, oops, that's a bit wrong way. For some of these perle cottons, it actually involves just taking off this piece altogether. You can do that for your thicker ones. But I think you can get that flowing nice and easily. Okay, so we'll give that a go. Pop that in. Alright. Okay, the next thing we need to talk about is the way where you're going to put your design, because with your textured threads, so that's your metallic threads, these perle cottons, those type of threads, you're working backwards. So this will be the front of our work. This will be the final product, but you're going to start on the back. So I've done here just little lines in order for me to know where to change the colors, because I'm going to be doing 3 different shades of brown. And yeah, so now let's talk about the settings of the machine. Alright, so I'm going to assume that you know how to set up your machine for free motion embroidery, in other words dropping your feed dogs and having an embroidery foot, or in this case a darning foot, on your machine. Then we need to have our machine set to a straight stitch. You want your stitch length, play around with that. You can get slightly different effects changing that. Your needle, you probably want that in the middle. Then for our tension, we're going to start off with the tension slightly higher than normal, and then we can adjust as we go. But for now we're going to start off with slightly higher tension. And then I've got standard sewing cotton in the top here, and my perle, number 5 perle in the bottom. The other thing that makes it different to free motion embroidery is definitely for the textural thread part, You don't want to have any backing, okay, just especially because you're working upside down. So for this part of your work, yeah, you always do your textural threads first. Generally speaking, you'll do your textural threads first when you're doing an embroidery design, and that way when we come to this side we can play more with the leaves and that sort of thing. But for the trunk, which is the part I'm doing today in the textural work, we are going to be working that side up with no backing at all. So, normal. Right, so nice and tight. Let's begin. So this bottom bobbin thread is not going to come up to the top. Okay, so to make sure those are kept short, we'll trim as we go. Press the foot down and let's begin. So if you feel here, I can feel that it's making a ridge. So this is an amazing technique to do for bark, for leaves, fur on an animal, something along those lines, where you want to get this lovely texture and sort of raised effect on your working. So play around with different tensions, the speed that you move your hoop. It's all going to create different effects. You can tighten your tension, loosen your tension, has quite dramatic effects on how much what sort of raised texture you get with the perle cottons. Yeah, like I say, you can do the same technique for metallic threads, for all different types of threads. So it's a very useful thing to know. But yeah, the most important thing is get yourself a different bobbin casing for this, because yeah, I speak from experience when I say I've regretted messing around with my normal standard sewing machine bobbin thread. That one you want to, yeah, the bobbin casing that comes with your machine, keep that one as is and buy yourself a separate one for this. I really do recommend that. But yeah, it's such fun and so many different techniques and textures to get from playing around with this. So I'm going to carry on with my tree and then I'll show you after when it's all done. So it's a lovely raised textural technique. Yeah, it's amazing to use it on wall hangings, tapestry, that sort of thing. Yeah, where you can shade the different colors together. And yeah, you can see on the back there, that's the side I was working on, and that's our front. Something crazy happened to my filming here and I lost my sound, hence this voiceover. So I had planned to do this tutorial as a tree without leaves, but then I found this amazing adhesive backing that I really wanted to try out. It's a tear away backing. So I thought this was quite interesting, so I thought this is a great opportunity. So considering I cut my fabric a little bit too short. So this is self-adhesive, and yes, like I say, it's tear away and not wash away. So we'll see how it goes. I'm playing with this for the first time. Okay, so we're going to attempt to stitch onto this. I'm going to do darker green around the lower parts here, and then we'll work on the rest in terms of some color scheming. This is all just to see how this new adhesive backing works. So for this I've got ordinary sewing cotton, this ordinary sewing thread in top and bottom bobbin. So far I'm really happy with this adhesive backing. It's not leaving any glue residue on my needle. It's been an amazing product. I'm super happy with it. Okay, so we've got some basic structure for our leaves here. Now I'm going to wrap some of these green perle cottons, and then we're going to go and do some leaves on top of that. Yes, sorry, the sun is streaming through here. I don't normally complain about the sun in the middle of winter in Europe, but it is messing a bit with my light. But unfortunately, there's not much I can do about it, so we're just going to give it a try and see. So what I've done is I've threaded these two color greens by hand, and I've done the background here. So I'm going to attempt to do this without putting it in a hoop and see if it works, because I've never done that before. I've always done this textile stitching with a hoop, but I'm very curious to know how this adhesive backing is going to affect it. So there's only one way to really know, and that's to try it out. I'm going to start with the darker one, and then we're going to work on this background that we've been doing. So let's see how this works on the adhesive backing. Okay, so I've left my settings as they were before on the straight stitch, etc., except I've loosened my tension. I'm going to put it at a 3.5, and yeah, like I say, I've never done this without a hoop before, so we'll give it a go. Hold my threads tightly there. Let's see what happens. Yeah, looks like it's working. Trim that one off. Right, so let's keep going and see if it distorts the fabric or what happens. Let's go. have run out of bobbin threads. Okay, this is exciting. Let's see what it looks like. Ah, not too bad. Okay. Got a lot of building up to do with different colors of green, but yeah, that's a good start. Happy with that. Nice. So I've still got a little bit left on my dark green bobbin, but I'm going to change to the lighter green, fill in these areas here and see how it looks. So I'm going to play around with the tension a bit more and just see if I can get these lighter parts to be slightly more raised. Okay, so let's start with the lighter green and see how it. Set my tension to a number 4 now. So that's the first bit of gumminess we've had from this adhesive backing. Yeah, and again, I think I've run out of bobbin. Yes, I have. Thank you. Right, so I like that. I think it's looking good. Getting a nice textural effect. Not sure how much you can see there. I think it's creating a really cool effect for that tree. Okay, now comes the part where we tear this off and see how that affects our work. Easy it is to tear for starters. The adhesive backing is very easy to remove and great fun to work with. I highly recommend it. It's definitely something I'm going to be using a lot of in the future. I hope today's tutorial has given you lots of wonderful ideas of how to use this technique in your machine embroidery. Remember, of course, you can take the tension spring off your bobbin casing altogether if you're working with a slightly thicker thread. You can use crochet threads, you can use all different types. Today I just showed you pearl cotton, but it's not limited to that. It really isn't. You can play around with all different threads and yarns. Yeah, and always, as always, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week for another wonderful tutorial. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.